Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to City Talk with Slim. I have to think about it because I have some other podcasts. I have to think about where I am, but this is City Talk with Slim, something I newly formed, and it's presented by the Slim Nation 101's podcast. And it's just a part of what we do here. But we appreciate you joining us this morning, and we have a very special guest, and he is the mayor of Hampton, the Honorable Jimmy Gray. And let me cut the music off here so we can have a conversation. Jimmy, thanks for joining us this morning. And if you all out there heard me calling him Jimmy, it's not disrespecting his title. It's just that we've known each other so long, and that's the way we communicate. So I'm sure he doesn't mind that. But anyway, and plus he's originally from Portsmouth, so he's a Portsmouth fellow, Portsmouth Catholic High and Cavalier Manor, I believe. But anyway, Hampton, you all are lucky to get this guy. He's come up through the ranks. But good morning, Jimmy. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Good to see you. Thanks for inviting me to be on your podcast this morning. Share a little bit about Hampton.
Thanks a lot. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying just glad to be here to have an opportunity to share a little bit about our city. I am a Portsmouth native, as you mentioned. I do pay attention to what's going on over in Portsmouth. But I'm representing the good city of Hampton today, so I appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk with you about what's going on in Hampton.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And I have to say, the other night at the mass ball for the United Negro Fund, which is an annual thing, and I think they switch cities every year, right?
They do rotate around.
Rotate the cities who host that.
I do understand that next year it'll be in Norfolk again, so I'm not exactly sure how they make the decision on the rotation. I do recall when it was in Hampton, when Mayor Tuck was mayor there, but I'm sure my turn will come around again at some point in the future.
Indeed. And one of the things, the reason I mentioned that, and of course that's a ball to raise money for HBCU colleges, Negro or students to go to college, period. But they feature some of the black colleges around, but I think it's raised funds for individuals to go to college and get that education. What their monarchy is, mine is a terrible thing to waste. And if you've been around a long time ago, it used to be said a lot on commercials and everything like that, and which is nothing is more truer than that. Mine is a terrible thing to waste. Because,
when we think about some of the things we see happening out there in the community with gun violence and those kinds of things, we'll maybe get a chance to talk about that a little bit. But
we'll get into that. We'll get into that because, because some of those kids that might fall to gun violence, you just don't know what their potential probably was, as a contribution to society. But I mentioned that because I remember seeing all the Hampton Roads mayors together, there, and I've been to other events and all of y'all come there. I want to ask you, how was that relationship? Because if we talk about regionalism, which is very important, especially here in Hampton Roads, because a lot of times, although the cities sell themselves individually, also you have to sell yourself as a region. Right. Because especially a big company, it might go to Hampton, it might go to Virginia Beach, it might come to Portsmouth, it might come, but sometimes you want that company in the region, and you have to share those numbers collectively in order to attract some of those companies. So I assume you all have a pretty good relationship, all the mayors of the different cities.
We do, James, and to your point, I've always looked at it from the perspective that if a company comes to Virginia Beach or Norfolk or Chesapeake, bringing jobs, when you hear the big announcements of jobs, because we our regional economy and the majority of people work outside of the city that they live in. I see it, when a big company, a big project is announced in another city, I'm glad for it because I see that as a job created for someone that lives in Hampton. So,
yes,
I don't think it's, we would certainly all love to have, new projects, new developments in our respective cities. But we understand that, not everybody's landscape is the same, and some cities have more land than others, and so some of the bigger projects may go to those cities. But still, we see opportunities in the more built out cities like Norfolk, Portsmouth, and Hampton, where sometimes there are big projects that have a smaller footprint that bring good jobs as well. So I like to look at us, when we think about the seven cities, that we are seven siblings, in one family, and we all exist for the benefit of the entire region, and our contributions really really benefit the entire region.
Yeah, and we have cities like Newport News, Hampton, Norfolk, and Portsmouth who have a really big historic significance in the Hampton Roads area, and sometimes they include uh, Williamsburg for historic purposes. So, what do you think? And each city has its own niche. What do you think Hampton's niche is beyond the historic significance they share with Portsmouth and the other cities like Newport News and all?
Well, we're one of the older cities, and certainly,
Hmm.
with that is a very long history. Including, I mean, you're familiar with the fact that Hampton is where the first Africans arrived back in 1619, and
1619, yes.
Fort Monroe plays a big role in that. Fort Monroe and Old Point Comfort is where those ships landed with those first Africans. So there's history there. Obviously with the Civil War, there's Civil War history here, and then working our way on through the space program and NASA, and the hidden figures who were part of the the computing of the trajectory of the space capsule that went to the moon for the first time. So
Hmm.
all of that is a part of the Hampton history, and history that we invite people to come and enjoy here in our city. So, we think we play a major role in history, and even we understand what Williamsburg and the historic triangle's role is, but there is a significant history in the other cities as well.
Yeah, and staying in that same vein, when you talk about history, one of the things that concern me here in the city of Portsmouth and throughout the country is about our young folks and their taking in the history. And I always talk about we just had Black History Month, and which the history that's American history that's all year round that we can teach all year round.
Right.
But I think about the young folks, and it's fine to know about the national figures, historic figures that we hear about all the time, but it's so important for each city to make sure that the students coming up know about the local heroes. And you
Exactly.
mentioned one of them. I mean, you mentioned, about Katherine Johnson
Yes.
and those ladies and many other people, Jesse Radley, and you, how important is that to you as far as knowing and what knowing, letting the young people know coming up that you have significant history, and some of the people are still living
Yeah.
that they can touch and feel right there in your city. You
Well,
know,
it's extremely important, and some of those local heroes, we have acknowledged their roles and the role they played, at the time in the history of what was going on in our local area here. But we have schools named after Mary Jackson. We have community centers. Mary Jackson was a key figure in the old Hampton neighborhood, a Girl Scout leader, and just the everyday person to the people who were living in the neighborhood with her at that time. But she was playing a significant role over at NASA in the space program, and so we've acknowledged that by naming facilities after her,
hmm
and other key figures in our community. And so when I go to places, for example, like over to Fort Monroe, and I'm at the Visitor and Education Center, and I see those school buses roll up, bringing in students, and those students come not only from Hampton, but they come from the South Side, they come from the Jamestown and Williamsburg area. They come over to Fort Monroe, and I see them. I see the buses there. I see those same buses going to the Virginia Air and Space Science Center, where you will learn a lot about the space program and the role that some of those local figures played there as well. So it's important that the young people know their history and know the local people who made significant contributions to the history that occurred in this area.
Yes, indeed, and that's something very important to me and a lot of people. And shout out to Tina Vick, who said good morning to Mayor Gray.
And good,
She
good
was
morning.
on the show previously, and I had her on. I want to get her mayor on too, but had her on because she's one of the I almost said the oldest council member. She's not the oldest, but she's been on
Longest
there
serving.
longer than everybody on the council, and she shares a wealth
Right.
of knowledge with me. And she's become a friend over the years, so I appreciate her. But thanks, Tina, for watching. Appreciate you. And but anyway, yeah, thanks for that. That's so important. And when we get to the pod, and we'll talk about crime a little later on. I think that'll help with looking at the root causes of it. The more the young people know about their history, I think the more it instills pride in them and gives them hope too. So we'll talk more about that. I want to talk about your 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 you have one of the lowest tax rates in the Hampton Roads area. I think what y'all at like 114 per hundred.
We're at 114. Yes,
Okay,
and we dropped it 10 cents over the last about the last 4 years.
and that's a very important campaign for people to run on. And so, how significant has that been as far as controlling or helping with the how, prices of housing and also making the availability of housing more sustainable because all the cities are suffering from housing shortage.
Exactly.
It doesn't seem like it, but if you talk to anybody from any of the city, it's just not enough housing for as for the demand.
Right. Well, let me say first that those with tax reductions that we've done on our tax rate in Hampton were really kind of driven by two things. The first of those was, trying to keep our city affordable, because we hear from citizens, especially if you're a senior in our community, you paid for your home, and you have to write out your check to the treasurer twice a year for your real estate taxes. So while those who tend to have mortgages and they're still paying on their home, they write it off, when they pay that tax that, it's paid through their mortgage payments. But when you have to write that check out, you can really feel what the cost of, living in your home, is. And so, reducing the tax rate in our community really was a reflection of what the community valued, the priorities of the community. And like other cities right now, we are, in the stage of developing our upcoming budget, and so our city manager is very intentional about getting community input. We have our budget season every year is called Our Value because it reflects the values of the community. And she takes that message. She takes the budget after the council has had a retreat or a budget session and kind of gone through what our priorities are and what we want to see. Then she takes it out to the community and they get to look at some of the challenges. They get to look at some of the recommended increase in fees and they get to rate it. They get to vote on it, right? And they can see the results of their votes live. We've been doing this for several years. As a matter of fact, the Our Value campaign was a reason we won one of our All-America City Awards. And so we continue to do that. And so the city manager is gathering that input right now. She's had the in-person sessions. She's had the Facebook session. The next part is where people weigh in the most, and that's on the online survey. And they can kind of, and she gathers input. And so she develops a budget that reflects the priorities and values of the council and of the community. And so, people wanted to see their tax rates lowered. And so those tax rates were lowered as a result of getting community feedback and understanding how we needed to make sure that our community stays affordable.
Yes, and you mentioned the seniors, and I put that picture up so I wouldn't forget to mention that. And most of our cities, all of our cities, I think, have a growing senior population,
Yes,
because we all gonna get older at some point, and some of the seniors like to downsize once they get to a certain age, and some of the cities have been, well, I can talk about Portsmouth for a while, and we're working on that now. For a while, we didn't have enough senior housing for people to downsize in, and we lost a lot of our seniors to Suffolk because they were, building,
right.
developing really quick, and part of their development was senior housing. And some of the people really wanted to stay in Portsmouth, but they had no choice. We didn't have any, but we do. We're getting there now where we can keep our seniors in
Yes.
house. And most people, once they get a certain age, they don't want to move from the city
Yeah.
they've been in all their life. How is that going in Hampton? I see, each city has their senior citizens centers,
Yeah,
but
and we have
how's
one
that?
great picture of ours. As a matter of fact, our senior center just went through a major renovation, and I haven't been in to see what the renovation looks like yet because we haven't cut the ribbon on it, but we'll do that pretty soon. But there was a survey that the Peninsula Community Foundation did recently, which kind of focused on seniors and aging in the community and where people will live and what populations will look like on the peninsula. And that was very informative in terms of looking at what the seniors need. And our senior advisory committee, which is a council appointed committee, is looking very hard at the results of that, and then making recommendations to city council, which they'll do in a future presentation, to kind of let us know and give us some suggestions on some things that we can do and where life stands for seniors, what are the needs for seniors in our community. We go out, as a matter of fact, my Your Say with Mayor Gray listening sessions will be visiting some of our senior apartment communities. We have about 8 of them in the community, and these are the 55 and the 60 or older type of communities where seniors exist. The newest one of those is the Arbors on the peninsula down on Pembroke Avenue. And so we have these communities. We have a new one that will be part of a new development on the former Leakin Park public housing property. Will be a new senior complex as part of that redevelopment, which will bring about 90 new senior citizens apartments. So we're focused on life for seniors and wanting to keep seniors in our community. I like to say I'm one of them, but every time I go before the senior community, they tell me I'm not old enough, and so the bar
They
continues.
call you young man.
Yeah, so. But we do listen to the feedback we get from the seniors in our community on not only just housing, but other amenities and activities that they like to have in the community to kind of make Hampton a great place to want to live.
Yes, indeed, too. And shout out to Everett James. He's one of my Virginia Union University school buddies there. We called him EJ when he was there, and I appreciate you. He's tuning in from Hempstead, New Jersey,
Yeah,
New York. I'm sorry. And we go way back, like a Cadillac seat. Thanks for tuning in, Everett.
yeah,
Appreciate you.
welcome,
But
everyone.
and the last thing about the seniors, I really appreciate. I hope I see a lot of the cities are trying to bring some of the seniors to some of the younger folks because the wealth of knowledge, even though I'm in my 70s, for me to talk to somebody in their 90s
Hmm.
is amazing, and I encourage everybody to form a partnership with a senior in your neighborhood and just go sit down and talk to them because you can't imagine some of the things, especially if they're in their 90s and we have some in their hundreds or 80s,
Yes,
and talk to them of what they have been to and how they, you know, how resilient they were during some very, very tough times.
good times, absolutely. They
You
came through
know,
a lot. Certainly have a lot to share. About
yes, indeed. And shout out to Mayor Glover, uh, one of your
That's
mayor
Mayor.
friends there.
Good morning, Mayor Glover. That's my friend from Portsmouth. So we talk a lot.
Yeah, big connection there. And I want to go. I'm gonna show these this right here. the reading challenge, and I want to kind of incorporate that in because it's important that we encourage our young folks to read, and I encourage people of all ages. In a society where everything is fast. I mean, you get out on the road now, everybody's in a hurry to go
Yeah,
nowhere, and everybody's pressure is up. And I always encourage people, just take a few minutes out of your day or your week and just sit down and read a book. you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
and just you'll be surprised health wise what it would do for you, and knowledge wise what it would do for you. And
yeah.
say,
You're right
go
about
ahead.
that. I would just add that one of the programs we have in Hampton is the Mayor's Book Club. It's really started by former Mayor Ross Carney, and every mayor has picked up on it since then. It's still going strong, and each month we go out to schools. We get donations for the books, and so every school we're reading the same book. All the kids get a copy of that book to take home. It's all for the preschool and the first graders. And so I go out and I read to the kids, and we're trying to develop that love for reading at a very younger age, and hopefully they will continue that into high school and with adults. And last week was Read Across America Week, and we celebrated that by promoting reading in the community, and culminated at the end of the week with a special program at Barnes and Nobles, where young kids and families brought their kids in to read and learn about Dr. Seuss as the promoter. So we're
Yes.
promoting reading to the younger generation, and hopefully they will, just generate a love for books and reading and want to continue to do that. A lot of young kids now, do a lot with social media, TikTok, and those kinds of things. But the fundamentals of reading and picking up a book and enjoying a good book, needs to be preserved.
Yes, and our brains, you know, uh, long for that knowledge. We have plenty. We have certain areas in our brain that look for knowledge, and sometimes to fulfill that, only you can only do it by reading.
Yeah.
Not by visual. Visual helps too, but reading. So I think that's so important. I want to go to this mayor. Why Mayor Shannon is on. Uh, uh, he might joke with you that this thing about Hampton is a great place to walk. That y'all might have stole that from Portsmouth because one of the initiatives in Portsmouth is making Portsmouth a walkable city,
Yes.
and I think that can apply to Hampton as well. And one of our things is to create downtown as a walkable city, which I think we're really getting there. But talk about that if that's an initiative in Hampton as well.
It is. We know that young people with families, some older adults, like to get out and just kind of enjoy the city and enjoy either by walking or riding a bike or getting outside of the cars. And so we have a bike trail plan that we're working, trying to connect the city with bike lanes. It's a gradual process that we do as we do various road improvement projects. We build in the bike lane. The most recent one was to connect Phoebus with Buck Road with bike lanes on both sides, going east and west. And so folks who live in Phoebus and want to go down to Buckrow Beach can do so either walking or biking. We've got another project coming up to create a shared use trail on Little Back River Road, that area that's where a lot of families live on a long stretch, but it's not really connected by sidewalks or bike trails. So we have plans to how to work on connecting our community with bike lanes and trails, but having those parks. And the one you have here on the picture is our water walk trail. It was a controversial project when it was done several years ago, and folks said, "Well, who wants to walk across Newmarket Creek?" But they're able to measure the number of visitors that are coming across that trail, and it gets a lot of use. It's a very nice walk that really kind of takes you from Air Power Park over on Mercury Boulevard all the way over to the power plant where Bass Pro and Walmart and the um, uh, the casino is. So it's a very nice trail that people love to use.
Yes, I see Councilwoman Vic say, don't forget Newport News. I saw a video a young man did in Newport News where he went in certain areas of Newport News and walked along of the different quarters of Newport News and showed how walkable it is. They have different areas in Newport News where it's very walkable, where people are living, and you see the development now in all the cities, creating apartments and on the bottom having
Mhm.
retail,
Yes,
where making everything more convenient for the people that live where you don't have to go far unless you want to or have to.
yeah.
You can just walk to everything you need to do. So, and it's
Now,
also a great.
if I could
Go
digress
ahead.
a second on that point, because that what you talked about is extremely important in terms of building walkable communities that people can enjoy, because mixed use development is a big part of that. When you're developing your downtowns, when you're developing your new communities, that you do have that mixture of residential and commercial development. And
Bluetooth connected.
there was a bill in the General Assembly that died recently, but that bill was opposed by all of our what we call our First Cities Coalition, which Portsmouth and Newport News are a part of. But it would have allowed by right development in commercial areas and did not require would not allow us to require commercial on first floor. And those are the kinds of things that we have to be careful of. I know we're pushing affordable housing and more housing development by the various housing coalitions, but those cities like Hampton, Newport News, and Portsmouth and Norfolk that are fairly built out, we have to be very strategic about the way we develop our communities so that we can create these nice walkable communities. Uh, um, Councilwoman Tina Vick is the chairperson of that committee. I see she weighed in and said yes, but we have to protect our zoning rights in our communities so that each city can kind of develop and approve projects based on the history and the demographics of the community. And but building those walkable mixed use communities are an important part of that, and how we attract the future residents who want to live in the community and live in nice walkable downtown areas.
Yes, indeed. And just like we talked about the reading with the books, how it develops the mind,
Mhm.
just that pure walking develops or helps you physically. And a lot of people avoid doing something physical because they don't have time, but
Right.
you always have time to walk. You can always walk. Sometimes where you might drive, you can walk.
Yep.
And being physically fit is also an advantage. And I want to because I don't want we have time to talk about some other things, but I want to talk about something that is plaguing all the cities, crime. As we talk about crime and all the cities have it, and you see some people in some cities. Well, it's happening all over in all the cities, and some people in the individual cities might say, "Well, I'm just concerned about here, my city," you know. But it's a true statement. It's happening all over, and it's not something to justify it or ignore. What's happening in your city, but it's just a fact that
Yes.
it's happening all over, and everybody is trying to approach it in a way where they can cut into it or eliminate it to a certain extent. So,
Yes.
how is Hampton dealing with the crime? Because we see it all over.
Well, that's true. We see it all over, and gun violence in any form is troubling to all of us. One, not only because it just kind of cast a bad light on your community when you see on the news gun violence. Everybody's watching, and they see shootings over here, shootings over there, and it in some ways gives people a feeling that perhaps the communities are not safe. But we know that that's not the truth. A lot of times these incidents involving gun violence are involving individuals who are known to each other, and And so they're not necessarily random acts of violence or random shootings. They are targeted in many cases by people who somehow have some relationship with each other. But it is affecting all of the communities. Unfortunately, Virginia Beach had one down at the ocean front where I believe several people were injured from a shooting there. But in Hampton, we have a Office of Youth and Young Adult Opportunities that is charged with developing our gun violence reduction programs. We've got some programs that that really force us to work with individuals in the community who understand what's going on at the street level. Those of us sometimes who sit in city staff office or city council. We want the violence to stop, but we're not necessarily the ones who can reach the young people on the street who are carrying guns and may be a potential victim of gun violence or a perpetrator of a crime involving gun violence. And so but what we're being very strategic about that by working to identify through association people who may be a victim of gun violence or may be associating with people who may commit crimes involving guns, and then identifying those individuals and trying to get to them with the right resources that they need, that we can intervene before a violent act occurs. We do work with individuals who are some of our violence interrupters, is what we call those. Those are individuals who have some lived experience with gun violence and gangs on the street. They're individuals who were formerly incarcerated, who have come back to the community now and are working with city government to try to address the problem. So, we see the value in working with them because they understand the culture of gun violence and what goes on. And sometimes individuals who may be involved in something that may lead to gun violence will very easily talk to them where they may not talk to a person on city staff. So we see some value in that. We have our Gun Violence Prevention Week activities coming up where we'll bring the guns, individuals in the community together, for young people for flag football. We have a college night for the young people to talk about gun violence and safety on college campuses. That's called Hope After Dark. That's kind of the mayor's connection with the colleges, and I've always enjoyed doing that because we bring in the fraternities from Norfolk State, from ODU, from Hampton University, from William and Mary, and they all come together for a night of discussions and talking about campus safety and gun violence. So we're doing some things that we think are working for us. I don't know that we can say we have solved the problem. It's a work in progress, and we share opportunities with our fellow mayors and city staffers in other cities. We talk about this all the time. We know it's a concern, and we look for ways that we can collaborate. Over on the peninsula, the kids, young people on the peninsula will tell you that, as far as they're concerned, they don't see any boundaries between Hampton and Newport News. It's all one city to them. And so I think it's important because of that for Hampton and Newport News to work closely together to address gun violence, because we do see incidents where young people from Newport News may be injured in a violent act in Hampton, and a person from Hampton injured in a violent act in Newport News. And while we're working together, we're working on what works best for our respective cities. To them, it's all one city, and I think we have to approach it from that vantage point, that how they look at it and how they know that it's not necessarily a place where one thing works in Hampton and something else works differently in Newport News, because they're all the same people that are crossing borders. So we have a lot of work to do, but we're very intentional. We have a lot of resources and staff dedicated to doing this work, and we believe we're having some positive results. And it's just we'll continue to invest in that and look at how we're getting results, and hopefully we'll reduce violent crime in Hampton and on the peninsula and throughout Hampton Roads.
Yes, indeed. Thanks for that. Yeah, it's a collective effort to solve this, and it's going to always be a work in progress. And just hope people understand that this work is being done, and you can be a part of it. In some kind of way. Just figure out what you can do if it's just working with the young kids,
Right.
because a lot of it starts there. We're seeing a lot of young people nowadays that are seeing a lot of things that we didn't see when we were growing up.
And
or
there's some
go
value
ahead.
in working with many of the nonprofits that work with young people in our community, because unfortunately, there's kind of a no snitch culture out there amongst young people, and so developing the relationships with young people, or at least working with those individuals who have mentoring programs and who can develop relationships. You can gather information that way, and we understand what the kids go through. That they're in school, they know the individuals who may be doing something or may be involved in some the wrong behaviors, and when you help them understand how to stay away from it, but understand how to report it when you have something that really concerns you. So it's being able to develop those close connections and relationships with the young people is extremely important to our efforts to reduce gun violence.
Yes, indeed. And I want to ask you this too. I want you to put on one of the former hats you used to wear as you've been on the fire department in Chesapeake and Hampton as serving as the fire chief. And often the fire department and the rescue squad, when there's a violent altercation, y'all are there before the police.
Yeah,
And sometimes things are still going on when you're there, when you get the call because someone is injured or shot or something like that, and you get there not knowing what kind of situation you're riding into. What kind of what kind of training, or is it any kind of conversations y'all have about what kind of situations you all might run into, because the service y'all provide is very important, and we can't have people not wanting to be a part of that because it can be dangerous in some situations,
well,
but the
yeah,
help is needed.
that's exactly right, James. Because one of the things when you're in the fire department, when you're an emergency medical service provider, and you respond to a shooting, you're there to uh, save a life, possibly to treat the injured. That's your role being there. You're not there to pass judgment on the situation or anything like that.
Hmm.
Police arrive typically first, but in some cases, because of the nature of the call and where the units are located, there are times where the EMS units in the fire department arrives first. And I can remember having been in those situations where I was the first on the scene. First question you ask is PD on the scene, because you want to make sure the scene is safe for the first responders that are getting there to provide the medical care. So close coordination, between your public safety agencies is extremely important for the safety of all people involved. And when I was a firefighter, when I was a lieutenant and an officer on a fire truck, we were very we were the relationships we had with the officers who work in our district was extremely important, and being able to talk to them when you're en route, and talk to them when you arrive on scene, and having the communication channels where you can communicate with police. Those are things that are very important, because scene safety is critical in those kinds of situations. Where the person who committed the shooting may still be in the area somewhere, and so
Right.
you want to know that the scene is safe, and you do that by having that close collaboration with the other responding units from police, and being able to get in and secure the scene so that you can come in and treat the victims.
Yes, and it has been situations where the first responders are fired at, are shot
Exactly.
at
Yeah, we've
once
seen
once
those
they get on the
situations
scene.
in various cities
Yeah,
across.
I just wanted to bring that up. I think most people know the value of the first responders, and they're called that for a reason because they
First one,
get there as
first
quick
one.
as they can to try to save a life. And for those who don't know, just make sure that you realize the importance of those first responders and how important they are to also into helping fight crime. I mean, they're not actually fighting crime, but when crime happens, a lot of times they're out there to save the life of sometimes innocent victims. So I just wanted to bring that up. Thanks a lot. And I knew you had that experience, so I knew you could talk on that
Yeah,
firsthand experience.
my journey runs a long way. It came
Yeah.
from
Let,
starting from the back of that fire truck all the way to where I am today. So it's been a great.
let me get you back on the screen there. Okay. I want to go to this now. I wanted to hit the crime. I didn't want that to be the last thing, but I want to talk about some of the, tell us about some of the fun things, uh, that Hampton provides. I
Yeah,
see this place here. You know, I wish we had something like that in Portsmouth, because we have our school have swimming teams,
mhm.
and you know they usually have to go to other cities to really practice, because we don't have the type of facility that they need in order to really practice and be competitive. But
Well, they're
this
certainly
is
welcome to come on over to Hampton, and
yes.
we have a nice one here with the Hampton Aquaplex, and another one of controversial projects in Hampton that ultimately got approved and got finished and is paying huge dividends for us. And
What was the controversy about the cost of it?
well, here where it was this, we had a community center in the old Hampton neighborhood, and that community center had a swimming pool. It's predominantly African American neighborhood. I mentioned it earlier because that was
Mhm.
a neighborhood that Mary Jackson lived in, and the the pool in that you know, the pool in the community center, got to a point where it was too costly to continue to maintain it, so the pool was closed, and there was a commitment to the community that we were going to do another pool, not necessarily there, but make another pool available to the community. And so at the same time that we got to the point where we could, build a new pool, which ended up being the Hampton Aquaplex. It was a combination of two things. It was one, restoring an asset to the community that they could use for swimming and enjoying, but also to build on our sports tourism pillars in our community because again, as one of those built out cities, we don't have large tracts of land for redevelopment. So we have to look at other ways to generate revenues, and sports tourism is one of those. And we saw swimming as being an emerging sport that we thought we could capitalize on. And so the decision was made to build a much bigger facility that could serve as a facility, a venue for competitive swimming, but also be a community asset that citizens can come and enjoy. So this is what we ended up with was the Hampton Aquaplex. It has competitive swimming and diving capacity, and also a separate pool for just swimming lessons and for the community to enjoy. And then the outdoor splash park is the big attraction. It probably needs to be twice as big now because it's so popular that
Mhm.
you have to stand in line to get in there. But it's been a great venue from it, and the competitive pool hosts now not only local swim teams, um, high school swimming events, but we have college swimming events, diving and swimming championships here
Oh
from
wow,
the
yeah,
Colonial
that's
Athletic Association, and the Atlantic 10 recently held their swimming and diving competitions here at the Hampton Aquaplex. So it's all a part of now our sports tourism offerings, but it's a wonderful asset for our community that's paid huge dividends.
so. Excuse me if you mentioned this already. So, is it sort of a membership or a city fee to
Yes, you
as far
can.
as the you know?
Yeah, you can purchase memberships, and the membership gives you access. You can do just the splash pad kind of membership. You can do the full facility membership. We have some discounts available for people who may not be able to afford the membership. Uh, One of the best programs that we're offering here at the Aquaplex is that all second graders in City of Hampton schools come to the Aquaplex and learn the swim lessons. So we want to create a culture of in our community of kids who grow up knowing how to swim. We have these nice beaches and waterways and in our community, but not everybody can enjoy them if you don't know how to swim. You don't like to go in
Yes, indeed.
the
Yeah.
beach. So bringing all of our second graders in and teaching second graders how to swim, we're growing a culture of young people now who know how to swim and are more confident about being in the water. And we're doing that right here at the Aquaplex. So those buses roll in and bring in those kids, and they're here for 5 days, consecutive days, learning how to swim.
Yeah, and you have to catch them that early when they don't have the fear. You know, some people get to a certain age and they have a natural fear of the water. And speaking of water, you know, most people when they think about beaches, they think about Virginia Beach, but you know, a lot of people know about, you know, the beaches in Hampton.
Yeah,
And you know, especially coming over there for some jazz concerts
yeah,
that might be on one of the beaches there.
yeah.
So talk a
Well,
little
well,
bit about that so people will know about that.
yeah, certainly. Buckrow Beach is probably our most well-known beach, and it's always packed, during the summer. But some
Bluetooth
people have also
disconnected.
discovered we have nice beaches over at Fort Monroe that are open to the public as well. And so now, on any given hot day in the summer in Hampton, you're going to see Fort Monroe Beach packed, and you're going to see Buckrow Beach packed, and both are very nice beaches. And the city of Hampton, because of our relationship, we don't necessarily own Fort Monroe, but we have contracts with the Fort Monroe Authority to provide certain services. So the lifeguards that you see at the beaches at Fort Monroe are Hampton Parks and Recreation lifeguards, the same lifeguard crew that runs Buckrow Beach. But both are great beaches. Some people have not discovered Fort Monroe Beach yet, but I would encourage you to come over one day and just spend a day at Fort Monroe and enjoy the beach and enjoy the history there and make a day of it. So it's really a nice place to visit that has a lot to offer.
Yeah, and the mayor of Virginia Beach might not like this, but if you want to enjoy the beach for and not you know spend your rent or your mortgage trying to stay in a hotel down there, you know, come to Hampton. I'm sure it'll be much less expensive, and you get the same enjoyment out of the beaches that you can get from Virginia Beach. But also visit
Yeah,
Virginia Beach as well. But sometimes if it's a little crowded and you want something, you know, a little different, you know, Hampton has that, and
and
people
and
in
I
Hampton Roads know.
and that's a good point because I think we have to look at these as being regional assets.
Right,
We're
right.
working together as one region. We want to grow our population. We want young folks to move to this area. We need to bring in the talent, and educated citizenry who come here, who can fill the high demand, in demand jobs in the community. That's how we attract business. So, while, we're not in competition, so to speak, with Virginia Beach, it's just all there are nice beaches in Virginia Beach. There's nice beaches in Hampton. There's nice beaches in Norfolk at Ocean View, but it's all a part of the regional amenities that
Regional.
are available that people can really enjoy when they want to come to the water. They got multiple choices to be able to do that. And so we have to promote those as just all the great assets that are available here in the Hampton Roads region for people who want to come and vacation, people who are looking for a place to relocate, senior citizens who want to downsize from more expensive cities and want to come to a nice area and be able to enjoy warm weather and the water. They can do so right here at Hampton Roads in one of the fine cities that make up this community.
Yes, indeed. And as we talk about the development of our youth, especially through basketball, one of my favorite sports, you have to bring up this gentleman here
Yes.
and the contributions he's made in the AAU and developing youth. And I wish they had that when I was coming up during my basketball days. You know, only time we really we had to get in shape during the basketball season, and you know we thought we were in shape until we went for those first practices, and the coach ran us. But these guys now and girls play year round. I mean, competitively. Not sandlocked like we had to do when the season was over. You know, we go out to Cavalier Manor and play the guys in Cavalier Manor,
Yeah.
but these guys, you know, they have the opportunity, something that was spearheaded by Boo Williams for the whole region
Exactly.
and even outside of the region to compete. You know, and a lot of times after they compete in these situations and they come back, these guys are playing against each other that they might have been on the same team during the Boo Williams uh, uh, events.
Well, that's true, James. And Boo Williams is highly regarded, in the basketball industry, especially in the AAU world. And we're glad to have him as a part of our community. Boo grew up right in Phoebus and went to Phoebus High School, and and then on to college. But he's done a lot for our community, and we just greatly grateful of his presence and all his presence and all he's brought here. When I talked about sports tourism and what the Aquaplex does, Boo Williams is also part of our sports tourism, the Boo Williams Sportsplex, because he's bringing basketball, competitive AAU basketball, which comes to town for some of his big tournaments. The Nike Girls Tournament, I think in some cases brings 200 teams, and they come from all over the country. And so they fill our hotels and, shop in our stores, eat in our restaurants, and really make some major contribution to the local economy through what he's doing with AAU basketball. So that is what he's doing there is just another component of sports tourism in Hampton, and that just really brings people to the community. And so he's got a great facility there. He's great partnership with the city to maintain the facility, and Boo brings in the basketball, and we got a good thing going with him that we hope we can continue for many years to come.
Yes, indeed. I just had to show that. And I want to put these people. Is this the latest picture of the council? This is
Yes,
the
it is.
present council.
This is what we call our team. This is our latest city council. Really great group of people who really care about our city. A lot of different backgrounds, perspectives that they bring to the table, and but we're able to meet, we're able to talk, we're able to kind of make decisions on what's best for our community, and come together on that. And I really applaud them for being a great team. So I enjoy working with them, and we really kind of come together around a lot of important issues. Our city manager does a great job informing and keeping our council members informed of what's going on, with, I would call up to the minute information on what's going on in the city, especially on important matters. And so I'm just proud to be able to work with all of them, and look forward to what we're going to do together in the future.
Yeah, and as we wind down, we get down to the hour of our conversation, and I'll lead them up. And I know each of the cities in Hampton Roads and all through the country, all of them have a vision of how they like to see their city grow. And I know you could be on for another hour talking about the vision, but
Yes.
give us a brief caption of what you and the rest of your colleagues have as far as a vision for the city of Hampton Roads going forward?
Well, again, we want to create for Hampton, that, our vision state for Hampton is that, we're a vibrant waterfront community with 400 years of history and innovation that informs our future development. And so we want to capitalize on the important assets that we have in our community. And they are around our history, around our location, and around affordability in great neighborhoods. And we want to use those and to attract new business, attract new residents, and really kind of provide a great place for people to live, work, play, and learn. And an important part of that, and this is where our council is in lockstep, and that is the importance of our school divisions. And I want to leave without putting a plug in for Hampton City Schools. We have a great relationship with our school board and our school administration. We understand that what's important to the city of Hampton is an educated and engaged citizenry, and it's one of our council's strategic priorities. And so we work very hard to make sure that our school has the resources that they need. We have a revenue sharing formula with our school division where we share 61.5% of all new revenue we give to our school division as a part of our one local match, but it's actually more than what we're required to give. And so we've invested heavily in the Academies of Hampton, which is a kind of a world-class model, forward next generation learning model for educating kids, not just to graduate kids from high school, but to graduate kids that are college and career ready. That's extremely important to our community, and our council is together and on that, and we work very closely with our school board. We have a buddy system, where we meet. For example, we're getting ready as in preparation of our budget. Myself and the vice mayor meet with the school division leadership, which it would include the vice chair and the chair of the school board. And then our other council members meet with their council buddies. And so each of us has a buddy on city council that when we want to discuss some school board city business, we know exactly who we go to do that. And so we're very proud of the academies of Hampton and what they're doing to turn out kids ready for the workforce or ready for college. I'm always proud to announce that we have a 98% on-time graduation rate, less than 1% dropout rate. College of the Advanced College Experience, which is at Phoebus High School, has turned out over 200 students who have graduated from Virginia Peninsula Community College with their associate's degree before they graduate from high school, over 200 students. And we have another 65 that are in queue. So we're changing the way kids are being educated and really turning out great students that are really prepared for the workforce and or going to college when they leave school.
That's so important, and the relationship between the school board and city councils in all our cities are so very important because as you talk about your vision, our children are part of our future. They are our future, so we must make sure we prepare them for the world that's out there, especially these days, as we look at. And the last thing I asked, I almost forgot this: how, with the complex ways of the national scene, how how is the city of Hampton, or how are you and your fellow elected officials, preparing for whatever might come down the pike on the national scene, as far as cuts and certain funds that you usually expect, because sometimes it hits the state and then it trickles down to you all. So how are you all, are y'all looking at that and making sure that you prepare for whatever comes down?
Well, what we did, for example, in our current fiscal year's budget, we adopted a full budget last year. But we put all new spending, new positions on hold until we can, assess the impact of cuts at the federal level. We saw job cuts. Many of the people who were losing jobs and live in our community, many of the federal jobs that were being cut. So, when we have investment in national defense and those kinds of things, we obviously see a benefit from that. But when there's significant cuts that we saw, we were unsure on how that was going to affect our local economy. So we kind of used the same strategy that we used during COVID. It was really hard to predict during COVID what the impact on your local budget was going to be. So we approved a budget, and then we put all new spending that included new positions on hold until we can see how our revenues are going to do. And that's kind of the environment that we're in right now. All of the positions and projects that were approved in the current year's budget, have to kind of get their blessing from the council or the city manager before they can move forward. Some of them we do allow, but again, we're assessing our revenue to see how those cuts at the federal level are going to impact us. But that was how we prepared for what was happening in DC.
Yes, we all have to be prepared for whatever happens, and I think that's at any time, but especially now because so many things are going on at the same time. So it's just, I guess, if you were a Boy Scout coming up, just be prepared. But anyway, thanks a lot, Jimmy. Jimmy or Mayor Gray, we appreciate you coming on and having a conversation with us this morning about the city of Hampton and all the things that's going on over there for the people who may not know. And it's a regional thing here with us, so we share our resources, we share the things that we have to offer, the annuities. If you don't have it in one city, go to Hampton and enjoy it. If you don't have it in Hampton, come to Portsmouth. We have a historic niche over here. We have our children's museum and a lot of things, and of course all the other cities as well have a big niche. And again, we appreciate you coming on, and thanks a lot. And we'll see you We'll see you when you see you. I hope I get a chance to see you one day in person. Maybe we can have lunch or something like that.
Sounds good. Good talking with you,
Yeah.
James. Thanks for the opportunity to come on City Talk with Slim.
Yes.
And, appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about what's going on in Hampton and the region.
Yes, indeed. Thanks a lot. And thanks everybody for watching and all the comments that came, and make sure that you share this show with people who might not been up this early or been up or been able to watch because they're at work or something like that. And make sure you share and make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so already, and support independent media as this. Thank you. And we'll see you next time on City Talk with Slim.